Hi, it's Katrina. Before Moby Dick, the Romans had to deal with their own massive whale that terrified sailors. Could it have been a real animal? The terror of the Roman world. Porphyrios is the deadly Roman sea monster that may have been based in reality. It was a creature that was feared by the people of Constantinople during the age of the Eastern Roman Empire. Fishermen, merchants, and sailors lived in constant terror of a massive whale they said was so big it could smash their ships apart. The whale supposedly had a very bad attitude. It was really aggressive toward people and their boats. What little information historians have about Porphyrios comes from the Byzantine historian Procopius, who lived in the 6th century. According to him, the whale was a whopping 45 feet long and measured 15 feet wide. That might sound big, but it's barely half the size of a normal blue whale. So it wouldn't be out of the realm of possibility that such a creature could have easily existed. Based on the words of the ancient historian, Porphyrios was a vengeful monster. For about 50 years, it skulked in the waters around Constantinople and frequently attacked ships. It wouldn't only attack whaling ships, though. It went after everything. It attacked merchant vessels and destroyed warships. It annihilated whatever it was in the mood to smash. For 5 decades, fear of Porphyrios grew to a point where many sailors were too scared to go on the water. People would make huge detours around patches of the sea where Porphyrios was said to live. Things got so bad that eventually Emperor Justinian declared that the whale needed to be vanquished so that trade could get back to normal. Nobody dared to hunt the creature, but in the end, nobody needed to. One day Porphyrios was discovered washed ashore. The seafaring people of Constantinople rushed to the beach with weapons and attacked the animal out of spite. It was then cut into pieces, and there was a grand feast on the beach that night. Historians think the story could be real, and that Porphyrios could have just been a truly bad-tempered sperm whale. And now for number 8, but first, it's shout-out time! I want to give a big thank you to Chuck's channel and Floyd Reba for supporting this channel. We wouldn't be here without you. Be sure to subscribe if you haven't already for more videos about amazing discoveries or mythology. We've got it all. Puakai. In Maori mythology, there's a giant carnivorous bird called the Puakai. The local mythology of New Zealand has a lot of crazy stories about the freakish bird. It was said to be a creature that lived in the heavens, only descending to the earthly plane at night to hunt. It was a giant bird of prey that preferred to hunt humans rather than other animals. The Puakai was a popular mythical creature for centuries, yet it never really had any mythical features. It was only described as a huge bird with a red crest and greenish-tinged wingtips. It killed and ate people, but it could hunt pretty much anything. One myth says the creature was defeated once and for all when a group of 50 men got together and hunted it down. Then, after they slayed the monster, they climbed to the top of Mount Tarawara and smashed its eggs so that no more could be born. New Zealand has been home to some of the biggest birds in the history of this planet. The extinct moa bird lived in New Zealand up until Polynesians arrived right before 1300 AD. By the 15th century, the moa had gone extinct from overhunting. This bird was 12 feet tall and weighed 510 pounds. Its only natural predator besides humans was the Haas eagle. After the moa went extinct, so too did the Haas eagle. The eagle relied on the enormous birds for food, and most experts think the Haas eagle was the real Puakai monster. It was big enough to hunt moa and could have easily eaten humans. The Haas eagle was the biggest eagle to ever exist, at a whopping 33 pounds. That's nearly twice as big as the largest eagles that are alive today. The Imugi. In Korean folklore, the most ferocious creature was the Imugi. It was the legendary Korean name for a dragon, a monstrous lizard-like animal that was said to have thick scales and spit acidic toxins at their enemies. According to the legends, it was Haemosu, the Korean goddess of the sun, who created Imugis from human girls. Young women would be imprinted with the symbol of the dragon. When they turned 17, they would suddenly transform into a flying serpent. What's really interesting about the myth of the dragon is that every ancient civilization had one. Ancient Koreans had Imugi, while the Vikings had Fafnir. But how did two cultures that never met and lived on opposite sides of the world come up with identical monsters? Scientists think that all dragons were inspired by lizards. Whether it be the ancient Hydra from Greek mythology, or the Chinese dragons with fish fins and antlers. They were all inspired by real lizards. But there could have been something a little more interesting happening in prehistoric times. Some have suggested that there were still dinosaurs on this planet long after they supposedly went extinct. The Koreans and the Vikings may have seen the same prehistoric beasts in the sky, which inspired them to tell tales of dragons. There could have been pterosaurs still living, although there's no evidence of it in the fossil record. There could have also been flying reptiles, whose fossils scientists have yet to discover. These creatures may have been the real dragons that soared through the skies up until the Middle Ages. Mermaids of the Susquehanna. In June of 1881, something unbelievable was spotted in the Susquehanna River of Pennsylvania. A fisherman by the name of Henry Lokes claimed that he saw a mermaid with his own 2 eyes. The mermaid was lounging in the water of Dugan Run in York County, and Henry didn't just witness the mermaid once. According to him, he saw it 5 times. He told public officials over 100 years ago that his initial reaction was to shoot the mermaid. He really considered killing the mythical creature, but Henry didn't go through with it because he thought he might be tried for murder. Henry's story can be found in the newspaper microfilms that are stored in the York County Heritage Trust. His testimony was recorded by staff at the York Daily Record. Henry said that the mermaid would come to the surface, look around a bit, and then go back under. Henry clearly saw the face of a beautiful woman with long hair splashing in the river. He never could get a good look at her lower half, though, so he didn't see for himself if she had a mermaid tail. But he watched her long enough to see that she disappeared under the water and never came up again. If she had been an ordinary human woman, Henry would have seen her come out of the river, but instead she vanished beneath the surface and swam away like a mermaid. Interestingly, Henry's wasn't the only sighting of a mermaid in the Susquehanna River. In fact, mermaids have been seen here as recently as 2009. Do you think there could be mermaids still living somewhere in the United States? Let me know what you think in the comments. And while you're at it, be sure to subscribe. Ahuitzot. In the ancient Nahuatl language of the Aztec, Ahuitzot means thorny one of the water. This was a mythological creature that supposedly lived in the lakes and rivers surrounding the Aztec capital of Tenochtitlan. The Aztecs said it was a vengeful creature, a lake beast that preyed on fishermen. It would eat people who got too close to the edge of the lake, and it was described as completely black with smooth and slippery skin. Ahuitzot looked kind of like a small dog with pointed ears, but it had a human hand at the end of its tail. When it came to feasting on humans, it preferred to eat eyeballs. Fishermen were so fearful of the creature that they'd offer it sacrifices when they went on the water. They'd give portions of their daily catch to the monster so that it didn't attack them. However, there's a lot of debate over the existence of Ahuitzot. Some experts believe not only that it was a real creature, but that its ancestors still live in Mexico today. Researchers have suggested that Ahuitzot wasn't even a monster, it was only a beaver. But others think Ahuitzot was an exaggerated otter. As you may know, otters can be vicious and occasionally attack humans. Ahuitzot was said to be a carnivorous animal that scavenged meat and attacked drowned bodies. These are things that otters could easily do if they were hungry enough. Also, otters are black, slippery, and kind of resemble small dogs. The most likely scenario is that the Aztec encountered a group of vicious otters, so they turned them into mythical monsters. The Rock. In the epic adventures of Sinbad the Sailor, he's carried away by an enormous bird-like monster called a roc. The roc was a mythical creature that may have existed in the not-so-distant past. People in Arabia were fearful of the giant bird, and even Marco Polo claimed that the creature existed. The roc was eerily similar to the thunderbird of Native American legends, only it was described to be much larger in size. It was said to be so big that it could pick up elephants and carry them away. Arabian and Persian legends said the roc would sometimes pick up an entire ship with its beak and fly away with it. Most of the stories come from Arabia, but Madagascar is believed to have been the source of the original legend. A traveler from Arabia was allegedly shipwrecked in Madagascar, and after years of surviving on the island, he finally made it back to civilization with an incredible story. The survivor said he'd seen an enormous bird hatch from an impossibly large egg. It was then Marco Polo who brought the tales to the Western world around the 14th century. Marco Polo said the Great Khan of Tartary had sent agents all the way from Central Asia to Madagascar to see if the bird was real. There is no physical evidence that such a massive bird lived in Madagascar. There has never been a creature that scientists know about that was big enough to carry away a ship. Instead, experts believe the rock was based on Apiornis, which is otherwise known as the elephant bird of Madagascar. It went extinct about 300 years ago, but before that, it was one of the biggest birds in the world. It grew to be 10 feet tall and laid eggs that were roughly the size of pumpkins. And yet, it couldn't fly. The Bear Lake Monster. For over a century, there's been a legend about a monster living in Bear Lake, which is on the border of Utah and Idaho. The legend originated in 1868 when a correspondent for Desert News named Joseph Rich published a story about some locals who claimed they saw an enormous serpent monster in the lake. After the original sighting, more and more people came forward to say they'd seen the monster too. It became such a big deal that people tried to catch it. Over the next 20 years, people traveled from all over America to try wrangling what was believed to be the biggest fish in the country. While it was either a giant fish or a sea serpent, nobody seemed able to agree on what it was. Most witnesses said its skin was a light cream color, with its serpent-like body measuring roughly 30 feet long. By the year 1900, people had largely lost interest in the Bear Lake Monster. The sightings never ended, though. There was a sighting reported by magazines and local newspapers in 1907, 1937, and 1946. And as recently as 2002, people have claimed to see the legendary creature. It's assumed to be a really big fish, but until it's caught, nobody can say for certain. Mongolian Deathworm. The Mongolian deathworm has been an important piece of Mongolian folklore for hundreds of years. Stories of the terrifying worm have been passed down orally through countless generations. Locally, the creature is known as Olgoi korkoi, which translates into English as large intestine worm. The worm is said to look a lot like the giant worms from the movie Dune, except the Mongolian deathworm isn't as big as its silver screen cousins. The deathworm only measures about 5 feet long. Its skin is bright red with yellow splotches, and it supposedly has toxic yellow saliva that can instantly kill a person. Skeptics dismiss the Mongolian deathworm as a silly legend, yet there have been sightings and encounters with the creature over the past several centuries. Modern tourists have seen the creature in the Gobi Desert, and locals have been seeing it since the days of Genghis Khan. So, is it real or not? It most definitely could be. The giant worm is said to live in the Gobi Desert, which is one of the largest inhospitable wastelands on the planet. There is plenty of room for the worm to live, and no scientific reason it couldn't exist beneath the sand. Enough people have seen it to suggest there is some truth to the myth. In the 1920s, paleontologist Roy Chapman Andrews received a request from Mongolia to capture the creature. He planned to protect himself with special glasses so he wasn't poisoned, but he never found the deathworm, or any proof of its existence for that matter. There was an expedition in 2005 headed by British cryptozoologist Richard Freeman, but they never caught the deathworm either. Scientists suspect that the deathworm is a real unknown animal, perhaps a species of enormous burrowing skink. Scientists have also suggested that it could be an unknown type of legless lizard that thrives in desert environments. The griffin. The griffin is one of the most memorable mythical creatures that nearly everyone in the world knows about. A griffin is said to have the head and wings of an eagle, while the rest of its body is that of a lion. It's a mashup of the king of the skies and the king of the jungle. During the days of the Persian Empire, 2,400 years ago, the griffin was a symbol of protection from evil. According to Greek historian Herodotus, there were griffins living somewhere in northern Europe. The Greeks really believed that far to the north, creatures like griffins lived in abundance. Some of the earliest depictions of griffins date to the 15th century BC. In the legendary throne room of Knossos on the island of Crete, there are frescoes of griffins that were painted 3,500 years ago. There are plenty of ancient depictions that can be found in other places too, like Assyria and Egypt. The Hindu god Vishnu even rode on the back of a griffin-like creature named the Garuda. Even the most open-minded scientists are doubtful that such a creature could exist. Researchers think griffins were likely invented by ancient people who found the fossilized remains of Protoceratops, a dinosaur who lived between 75 and 71 million years ago. Its bones resemble what you'd expect the bones of a griffin to look like, and its skull had a bird-like beak. Remains of Protoceratops have been found mostly in Mongolia. It's possible that ancient traders came across its skeletal remains and assumed it was a hybrid between an eagle and a lion. Then the traders spread the legend across the world. Thanks for watching! What's your favorite legendary monster? Thanks for watching! Be sure to stay tuned for extra content you might have missed.
Squirt and Crush. Baby loggerhead turtles are pretty cute, but they have quite the challenge getting to adulthood. Scientists estimate that only 1 in 1,000 hatchlings will survive. When they hatch from their eggs in the sand, they must make a run for the ocean, trying to not get eaten by all kinds of predators like wild dogs, foxes, raccoons, birds, crabs, reptiles, us, you name it. Having 2 heads, or polycephaly, might make it twice as hard. In August 2019, a sea turtle patrol on Hilton Head Island in South Carolina discovered a rare baby sea turtle hatchling with 2 heads struggling to keep up. Jamie Davidson posted the picture on Facebook, saying that it was only the 2nd time in 15 years she had ever seen one. The single-bodied pair were named Squirt and Crush and released back into the ocean, since Sea Turtle Patrol follows the rules set by the State Department of Natural Resources. They protect the nests and turtles, monitoring them, but are not supposed to interfere too much and have to let nature take its course. While a mutation causing 2 heads is more often seen in reptiles, it's nonetheless very rare, said the Sea Turtle Patrol. Squirt and Crush moved slower than the rest due to their oddly shaped shell, but everyone hoped for the best. It's up to nature to determine their fate. They are on their own now and will need all the luck they can get. Two-headed fawn. In 2018, a mushroom picker from Minnesota discovered a 2-headed fawn among some undergrowth near the Mississippi River. Until then, 2-headed fawns had only been observed in utero. As far as experts know, this is the only pair to be delivered full term. They were found in near-perfect condition, suggesting that they were only recently deceased. They were in a natural position and had been groomed, indicating that their mother had tried caring for them. Unfortunately, however, her efforts were in vain. Their anatomy indicates the fawns would never have been viable, said Gino D'Angelo, co-author of a study featured in the American Midland Naturalist. Viable means that this fawn would have never been able to survive. Researchers dissected the double-headed fawn and also performed CT scans. Tests proved that while the 2 females shared a perfectly normal body and legs, along with an almost perfect spot pattern, they had never breathed and were stillborn. For D'Angelo, the event highlighted the rarity but also the reality of cases of 2-headed deer. In his words, of the tens of millions of fawns born annually in the United States, there are probably abnormalities happening in the wild we don't even know about. Gumbo and Felo. Gumbo and Felo are a double-headed western rat snake in Louisiana. Someone from the board of the local Master Naturalist program discovered the creature slithering around in their backyard in 2018 and offered it to their friend, Taney Janice, who is also a board member. Janice obliged and named the pair Gumbo and Felo in honor of her hometown of New Orleans. While they share a tail, Gumbo and Felo have their own personalities and often struggle in determining which direction to travel in. Gumbo is more dominant, although they're both feisty. Janice says caring for the pair, who share a digestive and reproductive tract, is similar to caring for an ordinary snake. I guess it just depends which head wants to do the work that day. The only difference is making sure that their water bowl is not too deep, as the dominant head will drag the non-dominant head down into the water, she explained in a 2018 Newsweek interview. That could get tiresome. When polycephaly occurs in the form of conjoined twins, it's the result of a fertilized egg not fully splitting. While rare, the condition is not unheard of, affecting roughly 1 in every 10,000 snake births. Janice, who received Gumbo and Felo when they were probably a day old, more or less, believes that they will live a relatively normal life. As a community activist, she brings them into schools and libraries to encourage people to better understand the importance of wildlife. Two-Headed Fruitbat. In 2001, in the Viana municipality of southeastern Brazil, someone discovered a double-headed neotropical fruit bat underneath a mango tree. The males were placed into a 70% ethanol solution to preserve their tissue, pending a proper scientific investigation. After the specimen sat for years in the Laboratorio de Mastozoología, researchers from the State University of Northern Rio de Janeiro finally examined it. According to X-rays, they share 2 complete forelimbs and hind limbs, much like a regular bat. They have 2 spines, however, which eventually merge into one near the lumbar region of the lower back. Because the placenta remains attached to the bat's shared body, scientists believe they were stillborn or died shortly after birth. Unfortunately, they probably wouldn't have lived for more than a few days anyway. The neotropical fruitbat genus consists of 21 species, all of which are native to Central and South America. This pair is the 3rd ever example of conjoined bats ever discovered. Two-headed porpoise. In mid-2017, fishermen off the Netherlands coast caught the first known 2-headed conjoined twin harbor porpoises. In a case of what's known as Parapagus diphilus, or partial twinning, they shared a single body and had 2 fully grown heads. These extremely rare twins are the 10th known case of conjoined cetaceans. The twins, who were probably already dead when they were caught, were returned to the ocean by the fishermen who caught them, who thought it was illegal to possess such a specimen. They took photographs, however, which proved to be useful for research. Because the tail had not stiffened, researchers knew that the twins had died shortly after birth, as the stiffening of the tail is necessary for being able to swim. Also, their dorsal fin, which normally becomes vertical soon after entering the water, was flat, and their upper lip hairs had not disappeared, as is customary for them to do so after birth. A female cetacean typically does not have enough room for more than one fetus, meaning normal twins are rare, according to Erwin Kompanji of the Erasmus MC University Medical Center in Rotterdam, who co-authored a paper about the porpoises. Partial twinning happens when 2 separate embryonic discs fuse, or when the zygote partially splits early in the development process. The sheer size of our vast oceans means that most conjoined twins go unnoticed by scientists. Pancho and Lefty. Todd Ray owns possibly the world's largest collection of 2-headed animals. Included among his menagerie are Pancho and Lefty, a 2-headed, 6-legged bearded dragon, as well as a much smaller and younger member of the same species named Jekyll and Hyde. The latter pair were born in San Diego, and Ray acquired them when they were around 3 months old, Ray explained in a 2012 Huffington Post interview. Hyde is a parasitic twin who protrudes from Jekyll's side. While they each have their own heart, Jekyll facilitates most of the pair's digestion. Generally speaking, Hyde doesn't eat, his movement is restricted, and at the most, he drinks water. Pancho and Lefty, on the other hand, divide their eating differently. While Lefty is a vegetarian who only eats greens, Pancho eagerly eats crickets. Ray has no plans to introduce Pancho and Lefty to Jekyll and Hyde. In explaining his views of his 2-headed animal collection, he stated, "I think 2-headed animals show that the idea of what is normal has reached its end." Two-headed piglet. In April 2013, a 2-headed piglet with 2 snouts, 2 ears, and a shared eye was born in China's Jiangxi province, in the village of Zhujiang. Its noble owners decided to spare it from the slaughterhouse and instead raise the animal, but unfortunately a local veterinarian gave the animal a disappointing prognosis due to its deformity, which made it unlikely to survive. 2-headed piglets are rare but not unheard of. In June 2016, one was born to a farmer in Luzhu, a city in southwest China's Sichuan province. The farmer, named Zhang Yuan, explained in a Daily Mail interview that he'd fed the animal's pregnant mother nothing extra and treated her normally. He also claimed that people had offered to buy the pig for up to 2,000 yuan, or $288 US, even though 2-headed pigs aren't exactly rare in China. In early 2019, a piglet with 2 heads, 2 snouts, and 3 eyes was born in the village of Calian in Sultan Kudarat province in the Philippines. The piglet's owner, Adelita Dalipe, named the animal Mara Clara, and despite the unlikelihood of survival that comes along with polycephaly, she believed Mara Clara had a hopeful future and paid special attention to her. Lucky the 2-headed calf. Cattle farmer Stan McCubbin of Campbellsville, Kentucky is used to seeing lots of things that many people find off-putting, but he was unprepared for the birth of a 2-headed calf on his farm in 2016. McCubbin's then 5-year-old daughter named the calf Lucky, and she hit the mark with this name as the calf lived longer than expected. Before Lucky, the longest living calf with polycephalus survived a mere 40 days, according to Ripley's Believe It or Not. Bovines with the condition have also been reported in Baker County, Florida, Vermont, and Lanzhou, China. According to Dr. Maria Ferrer of the University of Georgia's Department of Large Animal Medicine, two-headed animals often form similarly to human conjoined twins, with a single fertilized egg that fails to completely separate. This leading theory is known as fission. Some experts believe in an alternative theory called fusion, which entails embryos separating and later rejoining in the womb. From the start, Lucky's life was difficult. While most calves are on their feet and nursing within an hour, Lucky remained on the ground, being cared for by her family. She needed help feeding, walking, and holding her head up. While everything seemed normal from the neck back with Lucky, her prognosis was unfortunately dismal. Lucky lived for 108 days, longer than any other calves with polycephalus, but still for a very short while. Two-headed bullshark. In 2013, scientists confirmed the discovery of a two-headed bullshark in U.S. waters in the Gulf of Mexico. It was a world first for the species and one of roughly a half-dozen recorded cases of two-headed sharks, period. The specimen was not conjoined twins, but was a single fish with two heads, according to experts from Michigan State University. In other words, it was formed when an embryo failed to split into two separate organisms. Halfway through the process of forming twins, the embryo stops dividing, explained Professor C. Michael Wagner, the co-author of a study done on the fish, which was published online in the Journal of Fish Biology. The animal was joined at the tail but had two heads, hearts, and stomachs. It would not have survived long in the wild, given its need to actively pursue prey at high speeds. The two-headed bullshark was discovered inside its mother, who was caught by a fisherman off the Florida Keys. As exciting as the specimen was, it failed to yield any scientifically important data. In and of itself, the single natural history observation does not tell us anything earth-shattering about the health of the world's oceans or populations of bullsharks, Wagner explained in an email to National Geographic. Yet, it does capture public attention, he continued, and what a great opportunity for journalists like yourself to shine the light on some interesting information that does bear on that very important question. I'm not sure quite what to think about that reply. What do you think about this discovery of a two-headed shark? Let me know in the comments below. Harvey Dent. In 2012, Florida couple Nash Hand and Amanda Forsyth experienced the birth of a small two-faced black cat, whom they named Harvey Dent after the two-faced villain from the Batman series. Besides having two heads, the cat, hailing from Port Charlotte, was otherwise normal, the couple reported. Harvey Dent had two mouths, two noses, and four eyes, all of which seemed to work just fine. The faces worked simultaneously, according to Forsyth. When he eats on one side, it looks like he's eating on the other, and when he meows, it comes out of both sides, she explained in a 2012 Metro UK interview. When Forsyth took to the internet for advice on how to raise the newborn anomaly, she was reportedly countered by suggestions to put the animal down, with people referring to it as a beast and an abomination. She explained to WWSB News that Harvey Dent's mother had accepted him along with the rest of the litter, and that she planned to raise the kitten normally. Two-faced cats suffer from a condition called diprosopus, which involves a single head with two mirrored faces, earning them the nickname of Janus cats after the two-faced Roman god. While the world's oldest two-faced cat, named Frankie and Louie, lived to be 16 years old, Harvey Dent unfortunately passed away at just 2 days old. Frank and Louie had two faces, two mouths, two noses, and three eyes, and could only see out of two of those eyes. Their head almost looks photoshopped. The middle eye couldn't even blink, so even when Frank and Louie had their other two eyes closed, it looked like it was staring. Only one mouth was functional because the other lacked a lower jaw and wasn't connected to the single shared esophagus, but it was enough for the cats to eat normally. Despite its condition, Frank and Louie had a rather friendly disposition towards humans and was like any other cat in regards to everything except its appearance. He loved relaxing in people's arms, walking on a leash, and taking car rides. In fact, he was almost more canine in his personality than cat-like. Thanks for watching! What did you think about these two-headed animals? What other unique members of the animal kingdom would you like to learn about? Let me know in the comments below, and while you're at it, be sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you can be the first to hear about our next video. Bye!